Welcome to the Bitcoin Business Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Karpeles. This podcast is put on by Sovreign. And with me today is a new team member and chef who runs his own business accepting Bitcoin. So we're going to get a double dip of someone joining us, why they joined us, along with someone actually running a business that's accepting Bitcoin. And forgive me, Gonzalo, for not being able to pronounce your last name, but why don't you pronounce it so I don't butcher it?
Yeah, sure. I'm Gonzalo Rica. That's a Basque last name from the Basque country, north of Spain, south of France. Yeah, I'm a chef from Argentina, Bitcoiner, and very, very happy to be part of Sovreign.
Well, we're super excited to have you on. My uncle from Cordoba in Argentina is actually in town this weekend. So
Nice.
I told him I was talking to you and he was excited. So um, why don't you start a little bit? Tell us your background, how you got into Bitcoin, and then ultimately why you decided to come join us at Sovereign and why Bitcoin has become so important to you and why you decided to take on basically another job in addition to what you're doing.
Sure, sure. So I heard of Bitcoin the first time around 2009 after the economic collapse. I was very young. I was in Argentina, talking to my stepfather about all the economic crisis in the world, and he actually brought this Bitcoin thing that it was something that came in contrast to the economic system that we had until then. And I found very interesting the concept because I'm kind of a contrarian. I really like things that oppose the status quo. So I thought it was an amazing idea, but I was really young, and my only two interests were to cook and travel around the world. So I just didn't think about it again. So basically, after that, I traveled the world, cooking, developing my chefing skills. After several years of living abroad, I came back to Argentina. And to make the story short, in 2020, when the pandemic started, the economic crisis in Argentina was already very, very, very hard. Inflation was like going to 200 annually. Capital controls were very, very tight, almost impossible to buy other currencies. And I said, okay, I need to do something about this because if not, everything I worked for is going to simply evaporate in my hands. So that's when I started looking for alternatives, and I started looking on gold. But I thought it was really, really hard for me to get gold here in Argentina. And then suddenly I read an article that was titled something like Bitcoin, the digital gold. And I said, okay, let's investigate a little bit more. And I started going deep into the rabbit hole. And, it's like you never come back. it's I've been studying it for the past 5 years obsessively because it's this like eureka moment that you say, this is the solution to everything that is going economically in this country, at least in Argentina at that moment. You could bypass the capital controls, and it was the perfect hedge against inflation. So I went obsessively studying, and on this evangelic path of trying to tell everybody you meet about Bitcoin, and you become that crazy guy that only talks about Bitcoin, and everybody's like, "Well, what are you talking about?" So yeah. So after a couple of years of my wife telling me to stop talking about Bitcoin, I decided to get more involved in the community. I uh, uh, I took part of a cohort on Crypto Academy where I became friends with a lot of like-minded people. And after doing that, I was confident enough of my skills and my knowledge to apply for a job. And when I saw the job opportunity at Sovreign, I didn't thought twice. I said, this is what I want to do. I want to do Bitcoin consulting, basically because I know it's the best thing somebody can do with their money is to buy Bitcoin because it's the best money ever engineered. So yeah, that's my story in a nutshell.
So how many times has Argentina gone through a monetary reset in your
Oh,
lifetime?
look, I'm 43, and I've already seen three different currencies during my lifetime, and one
That's
hyperinflation.
my uncle's in his late 50s, and I think he told me it was seven. Don't quote me on
No,
that,
no,
but I
no.
think that's what he.
My father, 86, 10.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I probably that probably is somewhere in
Yeah,
the
yeah, of
ballpark.
course.
So
Uh,
it was interesting talking to him. He really understood the value proposition right away. He was a little more hesitant on the okay, how does it work side? How do I store this? How do I buy this? What's the technical engineering behind this? How do I know that I can trust the network to enforce the 21 million, blah, blah, blah. But right away, he understood the sort of the monetary use case for a fixed supply currency. I'm curious if you find the same thing in Argentina. Here in the States, it's really difficult to convince people that they are having their savings stolen from them by inflation. And back when it was 2%, 1.5%, whatever it was much easier to hide that. I do think a lot more people are starting to figure it out since 2020 and all the insane amounts of money printing, but it's still really difficult to convince people in sort of the Western world, for lack of a better term, that their money is being debased. And I have found that people in other countries where their currencies get destroyed, that they're much more receptive to the concepts of hard money. But curious as to your experience with that.
I totally agree. The easiest way to sell Bitcoin to somebody in Argentina is you tell them you can't print anymore and the government can't confiscate it, and they're all in. That's the two things.
Yeah,
Because we went through both things not very long ago, 2001. The money devaluated, devaluated 4 to 1 in 1 week, and all the money in the banks was seized by the government. And if you had dollars, they gave you back pesos to a 4 to 1 rate. So you lost 75% of your money in 1 week because some politician decided. So that when that happens, it gets really, really seared to your history and your family history. So when you know that is possible, you look for alternatives. So Bitcoin is like the obvious solution. Um, then you have the technical issue that you mentioned, that it's maybe a little bit hard to understand how to hold it and how to do the transactions. But now with the advent of stable coins, which are very, very used in Argentina and Latin America in general, it's much easier to talk about Bitcoin. People are understanding much better. And actually, what I see is that Bitcoin is used for savings, and mainly we use Tether here. We use it for like day-to-day expenses. So yeah, for sure, uh, when you talk about a currency that can't be inflated, Argentinians listen carefully.
that's my uncle would tell me stories where his family they refused to hold anything in the currency. So they would buy physical gold, they would buy real estate, they would buy boats, they would buy anything except the actual currency, and that was kind of how he was
Yeah.
raised to hold his money, and to this day, they still hold a lot of physical gold and silver as a lot of their savings. I'm working on getting them to convert that to Bitcoin slowly but surely. I think I'm winning them over, but they at least understand the concept of you just can't save anything in the currency. And I think people in the US at least have sort of an implicit understanding like, okay, I have to get a financial advisor. I have to put my money in the S&P 500 or some assortment of various stocks. And they don't even realize why they're doing that. They just know that's kind of the prudent thing, but it is really to preserve your wealth. And what's so crazy about the fiat system is it's so engrossing and entrenched in people that they don't even understand why do I have to go get a diversified portfolio? Why do I have to hold why is this even necessary? And if you're just like, well, this is just what I do. But it is refreshing almost to talk to people from other countries where they're like, yeah, well, it's because the currency sucks. People print it, and the people in charge of it are criminals.
Yes.
So I always find that refreshing when talking to people from Latin
Yeah,
America. So
I can tell you an anecdote. Before the new government came into office in Argentina, the inflation was 250%, and it was ridiculous. And there was a politician from the government that won from Milei's government that in his campaign he started telling people to save in tuna cans, to buy tuna cans to save their money. And it was
I mean,
ridiculous, but it was true. After a week, you
it's
had more money
anything
in tuna
better.
cans than in pesos. That,
Yeah,
we got
I mean,
to that level of lunacy. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, so you can imagine, Argentinians always say we have two jobs. We have a regular job, and then we are a financial advisor for ourselves, because you need to know about how to buy the best currency at the moment. If it's the dollar, I don't want to get you started with the black market of dollars that we have in Argentina, which is a whole other thing. Or if you buy reales from Brazil because they are appreciating. So we know all these things. The taxi drivers know this. The guy that sells the wine at the corner store knows all this. So we also like to joke that we come from the future, because we can see what is happening in Europe and the US, and we are here to warn you. Don't bring money.
yeah, yeah. Well, thank God for Bitcoin, right?
Yeah,
Now we have an opt out option, and now you no longer have to worry about the real or some other country's peso or anything. It's just we just have this one currency we're going to have to worry about. So hopefully those days are closer to us than they are behind us. But exciting times, and it's going to be awesome. It'll just completely change. I mean, to your point, I mean, the amount of time and human capital that is just wasted on all this, figuring out all this stuff, studying these different markets and arbitrage and blah blah blah. It's all just everyone could be doing something so much better, like cooking delicious meats and running a restaurant. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're at, the name of your restaurant, what you do? I know you do catering as well. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll get to the Bitcoin portion of it as well.
sure. So I run two businesses here in Buenos Aires, in Argentina. I have my catering business, where I usually do like big events, socials, or like company things. And then I have a little restaurant in the neighborhood called Núñez. It's called La Perrault. It's a French word for like aperitif. And it's a very like neighborhood kind of restaurant where people gather to just have good food, good drinks. We specialize in vermouth, vermouth. I don't know. I think,
Yeah, vermouth. Yeah, yeah.
and
The
wines.
stuff that goes in martinis, right?
Sorry,
The stuff that goes in martinis,
exactly.
right?
A
Yeah,
martini is a kind of vermouth. So
yeah,
yeah, that's what I do as a chef. I'm in charge of the kitchen there, and yeah, we started the restaurant. I think it was kind of the worst year to start a business in Argentina because it was right between the election of the new government, and we didn't know what was going to happen, who was going to win. It's like opening a restaurant a week before the elections of Biden and Trump last time, so I don't know
yeah.
what was going to happen. And imagine with 250% inflation. Well, as soon as we started talking about wasting time because of this inflation stuff, every week we had to change the menu and the prices of the menu because prices were going up and down like crazy. So, like every week, we lost 5 to 6 hours just changing the prices. Uh, ridiculous.
I remember. I remember even in the United States in like 21, 22, when they finally started reopening some places. I remember specifically there being paper menus where they could just, change the numbers on there. And then also menus without prices where they were just like, we're just not putting the price on here and you can ask about it. Basically was kind of what it was. And I remember sitting there in United States, and obviously I had known about Bitcoin, was a Bitcoiner, and so I knew all the problems. But I'm just staring at it. I'm like, man, I can't believe this is like actually happening in the United States. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So basically, I started the restaurant with two other partners, and we had some extra money from the initial investment, and we were like, okay, what we do? Should we buy some more, I don't know, wine and store it? Should we put it in the bank? And I was like, guys, I know you're gonna think I'm crazy, but we need to buy Bitcoin. And they were no, because that's very volatile, and that's a crypto, bro. And I'm like, guys, I don't have the time to explain you, but trust me, we're gonna buy Bitcoin, and that's it. So luckily they trusted me, and now we are like 70% up, and they are very happy with me, and they want to buy more. So, and now that we are actually today, I think we hit an all-time high. They are even more happy.
So you're officially a Bitcoin treasury company now. You
Okay,
can
yeah,
declare yourself
for
one.
sure.
You got to go on X, and then you got to make a meme about it, and then you got to get everyone on board with your company now. You're
Yeah,
officially a Bitcoin treasury company.
Noster. I use Noster, not X.
Yeah. Okay. Well, even better. I'm
Yeah,
the same way.
yeah, I know.
So
That's why I'm telling you. I know you're a Noster boy.
yes, I love it. So okay, along those lines. So for your catering events at the restaurant, are and you are accepting Bitcoin. So why don't you let's start there. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your setup at your restaurant, how you're accepting Bitcoin, and we'll start there.
Yeah, basically, I have a Lightning wallet and printed QR, and I'm in all the searches of businesses that accept Bitcoin in Buenos Aires. I'm logged to everything. So yeah, when Bitcoiners come to the country or to Buenos Aires and want to spend Bitcoin, they can come to my place, and I have the Lightning QR, and yeah, they
So,
just
so you have a static, is that just a Bolt 12 address then?
yeah,
And okay, awesome. And then so you would come out to them and you would say, "Here's your bill. It's this many pesos. And if you would like to pay that in Bitcoin, here's the QR code to scan it."
exactly. Actually, we have like a wooden thing where you put your check in, and when you lift your check, the QR is right there and says we accept.
Oh, cool.
So it's
Awesome.
actually I like it because people look at it. Ah, you accept Bitcoin. Ah, that's cool. and you can start talking about maybe they know what it is, but they don't use it. And that's where I can tell them, look, I'm a Bitcoin consultant, so anything you need, I'm here for you. We can have a glass of wine and talk about Bitcoin.
Awesome. And then so are you doing it with the catering business as well, or do you kind of instigate like, hey, we also accept Bitcoin, or what's the arrangement there?
The catering business, I started later to talk about it to my clients, but they are, it's like they don't really care right now. It's easier to pay with a transfer of bank to bank. And because most of my clients are businesses, they prefer to do it through the banking system because it's easier for them for the taxes and the accounting. But now that I'm a part of Sovreign, I want to start talking to them about how this is even better if they use Bitcoin for the payments or have it in the treasury. But to be honest, it's really new for businesses here, even though Bitcoin is used by regular people daily, businesses are still a little bit behind.
You also have the advantage down there. I know you said it earlier that a lot of people use stable coins as well. And I've never used a stable coin. I never will. Sats are my stable coin. But one thing I find here is that even when talking to my own family, they're like, well, you're in the Bitcoin space. You understand how this works. And just I try to explain it's actually so much simpler. You just click an invoice and then a QR code comes up, and then you just take your wallet that I've set up for you that you know how to use. My mom can send from that wallet to cold storage, but it's for some reason it's like daunting to check out on a website. It's like you do the exact same thing. You're just scanning a different QR code, but it's this sort of lack of familiarity with just the process of like, okay, a QR code comes up, or I get copied an invoice from someone sending it to me over text, and then I paste it and pay it. Like, just while that process is incredibly easy and it takes like 2 times to do to be comfortable with, most people are on 0 times. And the I guess I'll ask you. In my mind, it would seem to me that it would be a huge advantage to have people already in sort of the stablecoin um, ecosystem because it's the same setup. It's just a shittier unit of account than Bitcoin, right?
Totally, totally. I mean, technically, it's as you said, it's very similar to do payments with stablecoins or Bitcoin. The only thing that I see is that I feel it's like kind of like a trust issue, and what I mean is stablecoins. They people think dollars, so they think okay, there's a bank behind it, and there's somebody that I can call if my payment doesn't work, even though it's not like that.
Even though they can't.
Yeah, but they think. And
Yeah.
when they do Bitcoin, and there's this big scare that if you do something wrong, you can lose your money or the transaction disappears into the ether. I think that's mainly the issues. Oh, at least that's my experience with the people I talk to. It's like, no, this is easier because it's like using the equivalent of like Cash App in the US. Here it's called Mercado Pago. It's an app that you can transact, pay for things, or send money to your family or friends. So they think it's kind of like the same thing. And you have to understand that Argentina is a country that has been saving in dollars for the past 70 years, I guess. So we understand dollars. It's very familiar to our day to day. So when you talk about stable coins, it's like the digital dollar. People feel like very, very comfortable with it. And when you talk about Bitcoin, it's like, okay, no, that's another thing. I have to think about it. I'm comfortable with this. But then when you talk about nobody can print it and no government can seize it, they start listening and paying attention.
That's that's fascinating. Yeah, it's interesting because to me, growing up in the fiat system and all the stuff we had to do to learn how the system worked, and I mean, even just a card that you stick into a machine with a pin and then you press, I mean, it's all so much more complicated than using Bitcoin, but people have learned it. They've had to learn. They've been forced to learn it because they needed that money. And it's like here's this new system, Bitcoin, where you don't have to use it, but it's infinitely easier and infinitely better. But it just, for whatever reason, just that super small learning curve just seems to be a hurdle for so many people.
Yeah, I thought about it, and I got to a. I think it's not a very good conclusion, but it's the conclusion that I got to. A lot of people don't want to do that extra step because they don't want to have to be responsible of their actions. If something goes wrong, it's going to be their fault, and they can't blame the bank, the government, the politician, the whatever. If you screw up
It's
Bitcoin, it's your fault. So yeah,
I
it's.
was
I think it's that this mentality of okay, I have to be a sovereign person, so I have to be responsible of my decisions. I have to be a grown up, basically.
it's interesting you say that because I completely agree. And personal responsibility was a much larger ethos of a much larger portion of the population um, in the past in in the United States. I would even say worldwide, as the nation state in all these countries has gotten bigger and bigger, and the welfare states have gotten bigger and bigger. The message of hey, outsource your personal responsibility to me has gotten larger and larger. So it's definitely pulled people. But as I was saying, I was talking with my family yesterday, and I do think there is a percentage of the population that just legitimately believes they shouldn't have to have personal responsibility. That that is the government's job. That everyone else who's, I don't want to say just making money, but the productive class, for lack of a better term, people making things, producing things, they kind of owe it to the people not producing things, not being productive. It's like a giant bicycle, and the people pedaling somehow owe the people not pedaling the ride of being on the bicycle. And I don't know what that is. And I'm going on a little bit of a tangent
Well,
here,
I
but
agree because I don't want to get into politics, but that's basically what Peronismo is in Argentina. Peronist
yeah.
movement. Basically,
Well,
people
and
that
it's
think that the state owes them everything
yeah.
and has to take care of everything, and where the money comes from, I don't care.
No,
I
exactly.
don't care.
Yeah, and no, and it's crazy because they also don't realize that they're actually making themselves poorer by wanting those things because the government has to print the money for them to get the money,
Exactly.
and then they can't afford anything. Whereas if they just kind of worked and said, "Hey, government, exhibit some fiscal responsibility," they would be in an infinitely better position. But you can't teach that, and the governments can't help themselves. So it's an intractable problem that, of course, Bitcoin fixes, and we all await for that day to come where we get back to fiscal sanity, and people are going to have to provide for themselves. And it's man, I long for those days. I hope I'm around to see that change in the world, but certainly want my kids to have that and embrace personal responsibility and just getting back to sort of traditional human values of work and time and being paid for your productivity and your energy. But
Sure. I was
uh,
gonna say, sorry to interrupt, but I was gonna say regarding that, the beautiful thing about Bitcoin is that you don't have to wait for anybody to do it. For the
no,
government to change it, you just start buying, stacking sats, and you already started doing that change. And this is something that I've heard from a lot of Bitcoiners in podcasts, and like it really changes you starting buying Bitcoin because it changes your time preference. And look, coming from a place where literally your money loses value daily, it's really hard to make decisions in the long term. Like for my restaurant, we think monthly. Now with the
Yeah.
new government, it's like 3 months. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't really think
And
in years. But when you have Bitcoin, you can start thinking in a longer term.
100%. And gosh, you're so right about that ability to opt out, and that just it just brings a calm to your life.
Yeah.
It just brings a and I've been going down the old world rabbit hole. We won't get into that fully here, but seeing I live in Chicago and there's all these old world buildings, beautiful buildings, incredible masonry work and engravings and architecture and construction that we don't know how to do today. I don't know how these buildings got here, but there is no way people with horse and buggies were building these things in less than a year in 1890. Like, I'm sorry, that didn't happen. I don't really know what happened, but that didn't happen. And we've been forced all this brutalist architecture, these boxes and squares and these one-story flat buildings. I'm looking out my window right now at a school building that's just a box with a gray roof, metal siding, and it's hideous and it's depressing. But to that end, I mean, I know that's part of the plan is to demoralize us and keep us aesthetically abused, but like just being able to step out of that and being like, I don't care, because I have Bitcoin, I have my family, my priorities are in line, and I'm not going to be bothered by that. Like that's just not going to bug me. The red team, blue team's not going to bug me, and you, it just brings a sense of peace and calm to your life that I think is a huge part of the younger generation's angst and uh, worry about the future is it's just seems like they can never get anywhere. They're constantly surrounded by negativity and by environments that are meant to cause angst, meant to induce fear, and they're unable to step out of that. And really, until you discover Bitcoin, or if you're just there are some exceptions, some deeply grounded people of faith, or people who are able to just step out and realize that everything around them is trying to agitate them, and but that's a small cohort of people I've found outside of Bitcoin. So
Yeah, I totally agree. And when you talk about the younger generation's anxiety and how they see the world, I feel like much of it is because of the money printer. They see the future and they are like, I'm never gonna be able to afford a house. Never gonna be able to have a job that when I'm old I'm gonna be able to live off my savings. So they are like, why am I even trying? Luckily,
that
we
was
have
me.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, that was me before Bitcoin, 100%. I was going great. I'm gonna work till I'm 72. I'm not gonna collect Social Security, and my 401k is gonna be short of whatever I need it to be. And it wasn't until Bitcoin where that just sort of dread and day to day drudgery was just taken away. So it is super empowering. And getting it back to you running a business, why don't you talk a little bit about your point? I know you said you had a meeting a few years ago, you put it on the balance sheet. Talk about how that has given you the ability to a run your business with less worry. C, or what, I don't even know what letter I'm on here. I think I skipped B. Sorry. B, uh, um, give yourself some more options at the business in terms of what you want to invest in, capital investment. To your point, more wine collection, different food inventory, etc. And then C, plans for the future. What you're able to look forward to, or just talk a little bit about sort of how Bitcoin has changed the way you run your business and what sort of liberties and freedoms it's given you at your business.
Yeah, sure. So the first advantage is that I didn't lose value against inflation from the peso or even the dollar, which already that to my partners was something amazing because they were thinking of putting the money in the bank that only gives you like I can't even remember the name, but I did the math, the number. Sorry, I did the math with them, and I was telling them, "But you're still losing against inflation. Can you see that?" Yeah, I know, but it's the best we have. No. The best is Bitcoin. Trust me. Okay, so that A, B, Bitcoin price is up, so I have more money if I do the dollar number. So they are even more happy because we have more dollars in their eyes. And basically, I have that money for a rainy day or if something happens. That's my rainy day money. And every extra cent that we have from the business, we buy Bitcoin. That's already a decision we made because they saw the results. And then regarding the operations, we started accepting Bitcoin, and now is winter here, so it's low season. But I'm already talking to an NGO called Bitcoin Argentina here, and they're gonna come, I think, next week to the restaurant, so we can meet and start doing Bitcoiner meetups at the restaurant, and starting using the place as a hub for Bitcoiners to get together, talk,
Love it.
or maybe even start a business or whatever, to have a place for Bitcoiners to have a good time. And that's basically the idea with the restaurant and with the catering company. I have another partner there. It's a little bit tougher to convince him because the first time we bought Bitcoin, I think it was like 60 and then it went down to 30. And he was like, I'm going to kill you. And I was like, you have to trust me. This is a 4-year investment, at least 4 years.
Yeah.
So now he's happy because we are above 60. But he wasn't very happy with me for a couple of years.
Many such cases. That is definitely something we stress at Sovreign is when talking to people, just make sure they understand this is a 4 to 5 year planning. Don't come back to me in 4 to 5 days and ask me about what's going on because you're going to go nuts. And I've seen many people go nuts. Don't end up being that person. I'm curious. Have you were so it sounds like you're running, a profitable business. It doesn't sound like there was necessarily any concern that, hey, we might not have made it if we didn't have Bitcoin on the balance sheet. But now, like you said, you're building a rainy day fund. I'm sure that just alleviates a ton of stress at the company. I'm sure the partners get along better when there's not financial concerns or constantly worrying about dollars. I mean, I've seen Uh, I do quite a lot of cooking myself. I've competed in some barbecue competitions and some other things as well. So I know a ton of people in the restaurant industry and a lot of friends and acquaintances. And you can tell when a restaurant is going through financial troubles. It just things don't work as well. The food's not as good. Everything kind of suffers. The service suffers, and not having the stress of the number one problem for restaurants is is finances and labor. Those are the two biggest issues. And when you take the finances equation out of it, and you don't have to worry about that anymore, that is just calming, relaxing, and things just run so much more smoothly at restaurants. I'm sure you can attest to that.
Yeah, that's completely true. When the money is in the bank, everybody's happy and there's no stress. Um, yeah, what I can say is that we do have a successful business, but it's my restaurant in particular. It's a particular business because it's a seasonal restaurant. most of our seating it's outdoors. So in autumn and winter we have less volume, and spring and summer it explodes. So it's like the rainy day money is for the low season. So
It's for literally a rainy day.
exactly, and the cold day,
Yeah.
like now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, I've been doing this for the past 25 years, so I know how the business works and in Argentina, which is there's extra hurdles with the unions, and I don't want to get into that, but yeah, and taxes and everything. But when I this is gonna be our second summer since we opened. We opened 1 year and a half ago. So we already did one summer and 2 winters. Now we're going for a second summer. So when I started developing the business, I said, okay, we need to have this money for the rainy day, for the low season. And that was another reason that I convinced my partners to buy Bitcoin, because I knew it was going to hold its value, even though maybe it comes down, but against the peso, you always win.
Yeah. Like the worst house edge at a casino.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, I always say going from peso to the dollar is like changing rooms in the Titanic. Basically,
yes, exactly.
you're gonna go to
Yeah.
another room, but maybe you die a little
Yeah.
bit later.
Yeah, you might get to the front of the boat that was sticking
Yeah,
up in the air.
exactly.
It's still gonna be submerged.
Bitcoin is the lifeboat that left
Yes.
with the lady. What's her name? I don't know.
Wait, which lady?
The one that survives in Titanic.
Oh, in the
Oh,
movie. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's
I
Bitcoin.
thought you meant some historical figure or something. I was like, oh gosh, am I supposed to know this?
Um,
Um, uh,
so yeah.
okay, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
no, no. Sorry.
So I'm curious too, at the business, have you had conversations with your vendors and suppliers or anything about Bitcoin, or even potentially accepting it, or if they know about it?
Yeah. Look, after a couple of years of trying to evangelize everybody, I learned that it's better for them to ask and then you start talking. Don't push the Bitcoin thing. But I've talked to a couple. Yeah, people are interested, but you have to think that we come from a very tumultuous time economically in Argentina, so we are still dealing with very, to my view, very stupid things that we need to take care of. Like, okay, now we have 60% inflation annually. It's still a lot. It's much better than
Yeah.
250. So we still need to
Yes.
deal with that. We still need to deal with the prices increasing monthly. Prices are much better. They're much stable, but they're still increasing. We need to deal with the politics in Argentina and the tension around that, the social tension. So I feel like Bitcoin, people are interested, but I don't feel like now is the moment to start pushing it. This is my view in Argentina. In October, we have elections for what would be the Senate and the House, the equivalent in the US. And if the government of Milei does good in that election, then things are going to get much better because they're going to have legal, they're going to be able to make laws and change laws. And then I feel things are going to get steady enough for people to start uh, being able to concentrate on other stuff like Bitcoin.
So along those lines, I know my uncle keeps me abreast of a lot of the stuff that's going on there and the different parties and just how the government functions or doesn't function for probably a more accurate description. So is there sort of, there's basically this class of people it's in the country that are reliant on the government for their jobs or the contracts or whatever. And it's a huge swath of people, and they are really opposed to sort of these austerity measures or scaling back the government spending, the cutting of all this stuff. Are are you finding down there that there's sort of a political divide when it comes to Bitcoin? Like in the United States, we have this unfortunate situation where the current administration is, on the right. They're the Republican administration, and they're promoting Bitcoin and they're promoting, unfortunately, crypto as well, and people aren't really able to delineate. They're like, oh well, the red guys are saying Bitcoin, therefore I'm on Team Blue. I can't like it. I'm curious if there's even though obviously Bitcoin's for everyone, and it allows you to escape all of the political insanity at the end of the day. But I'm curious if there's a similar dynamic down there
Yeah,
with sort of the people that were tied into the old regime.
very, very similar. The government of President Milei is very pro Bitcoin and crypto also, and people mix everything and they think it's the same thing. And I'm
Yep.
sure you heard about the Libra case with Milei and the scam. So all that started very like a big divide and tension socially and between the two parties, the like Milei party and the Peronism, the Peron party that was uh, before him. So yeah, what I also can say is that I feel like the people that really understand this in government don't like Bitcoin because they understand that they won't be able to steal as much as they are stealing now with the money printer, because now they just can print money and they can do whatever they want. With Bitcoin, they can't do that, and they're not stupid and they can see it. So they come with this whole speech of this Bitcoin thing that is promoted by the US, the imperialist country that is trying to get our resources, and they mix everything. So,
Yes.
but I really feel like when you're on the other side and you can see the shenanigans, you can see that they don't really believe what they're saying. It's just because they know they won't be able to steal as much as now as they are doing.
Yeah. They want to retain their power and control, and
I mean,
like you said,
I, 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 I understand the position. I mean, you are kind of a piece of shit, but sorry for my French. But yeah, but if you're in that position, you wanna keep it. No, you wanna keep your position of power.
of course, of course.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So, as someone who loves to cook themselves, who I probably post more pics of food than anything on Noster. I love to cook. It's one of probably my favorite thing to do, maybe outside of shooting as a hobby. But so we gotta talk a little menu, food, what you're cooking up, what you got going on. What's your menu look like? Is it seasonal? Do you change it? Do you have some staples, things you're known for? What's it like?
So that's a question that I get a lot as a chef, and my answer always changes because I'm not the same chef now that when I was 22, for example. So right now at my restaurant, I have a very simple menu. We concentrate in doing how do you say this in English? Give me a second. Um, Ferments, like canned. No, it's not canned goods. Like
Yeah, like for fermented, yeah, like a riat or
yeah,
something like that.
fruit, sauerkraut,
Yeah, yeah,
kimchi,
kimchi. Yeah,
miso,
okay.
all that kind of stuff. But then we do, how is this called in English? Here it's called escabeche. It's kind of like eggplant with a little bit of garlic and spices and vinegar. So you keep it for a long time.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, for I mean, that's yeah, fermented,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
So we are
yeah,
very well known for those kind of products that we serve and you can buy and take it to your place. Then we do like small dishes that we change seasonally or weekly even. If I go to
like
the
taco
market,
style.
yeah, kind of like tapas type.
Yeah.
But we are best known for our sandwiches. We do like big sandwiches. Actually, I have one that it's inspired in Cat's Deli from New York. I have one that it's inspired in a Vietnamese sandwich. So I
A
don't
banh mi?
about me exactly. We're having
Nice,
it this
yeah.
week. In
Awesome. I live, real close to, the Vietnamese, uh, community in Chicago. So we have tons of Vietnamese spots around us. Lots of great Asian food in my neighborhood. So
nice, nice. So basically,
so you
I don't get myself into just one kind of food. I go all over the place because I like cooking everything. So I was like, why should I just be an Argentinian chef or a Spanish chef or a French chef? I've
yeah.
cooked in France, I cooked in the US, I cooked in Spain, in Berlin. Um, I love Asian food, so I like to play with the menu and try new things.
Where was the best place to cook?
That's also a good question. Like personally, I love working in France because I love French culture. I have family from France. I love the language. I learned how to speak French there. And well, living in Paris and food and everything was amazing.
Yeah.
But professionally, I think the best place was when I was working in New York. I was working at
Okay.
Daniel, from
Oh, yeah, sure.
Daniel
Yeah.
Boulud. Uh,
Yeah.
Amazing experience working at a three Michelin star restaurant, and we were doing 350 guests a night. And that was like,
Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the most known
yeah,
restaurants in the United States for sure.
totally.
So,
Well, working there and knowing the dynamics of working in a restaurant with we were 50 cooks working there.
wow.
We had six cooks that only did the family meal for everybody. So you can imagine it was a huge place. And
Yeah, you got to go back and orange pill those guys.
yeah, yeah. I haven't been back to New York in a couple of years. I have to go back to the US. I hope President Trump let me in. Now I know it's kind of iffy with immigration stuff.
Yeah, you just can't say anything about
Yeah,
Israel, and you should be good.
yeah.
I think he'll let you in. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but then I don't know. I was lucky enough to open a restaurant in Berlin, so I was living there for like 5 months. Look, I love my profession, cooking, because one of the things that I really thought about it when I chose to be a chef was you can pick up your knives and go work wherever you are in the world. So that was
Also,
an
it's
amazing thing.
it's like the ultimate proof of work. I mean,
Right.
it's your time. Your I mean, at the end of the day, everyone has access to the same piece of meat. You know, it's kind of like everyone has access to the same energy grid, and it's all kind of what you make out of it, and how do you turn it into the end product that people are going to be satisfied. As someone who does barbecue, there's 90 different ways to smoke something, and they all come out differently. It's like you can wrap your ribs, you cannot wrap your ribs, you can wrap it for this amount of time, you can wrap it with liquid, you can wrap it without liquid, and it's honestly every single time it comes out that you can do it with sauce, you can do it dry, like, and it's just such a creative expression of your ability to make something, which is so cool. And then obviously the camaraderie that comes with it, being around people. And then, I mean, I don't need to tell you you're an actual professional. I just LARP as a professional, but like there is nothing better than seeing people enjoy your food. Like that is one of life's greatest joys, in my opinion.
I totally agree. Totally agree. And I have a saying that there's as much recipes as there are cooks. So every cook has his recipe for whatever. I wanted to ask you,
So
do
true.
you do a mint chimichurri or not yet?
I make I would say more like a docile chimichurri.
Okay.
I make it, but you know, it's kind of basic.
I
It's
want
just
to
sort
have
of
you my recipe.
yeah. I gotta get a real one, and like go. I got the cilantro and parsley growing out in the on my deck right now, so it's like perfect time. The lemons are good. The summer lemons are good. Like it's a good time to make a good chimichurri. So.
So yeah, I want to give you my recipe for sure.
Please do. I will definitely make it. My wife is a massive chimichurri fan. We there's this place in Chicago. It's called Tango Sir, and they have a sister restaurant called Bodega Sir, and we love going out there. They got like natural wines from Argentina there. Guys growing stuff at like 8,000 feet, and we'll just grab a bottle, sit outside, and every time the meat comes, we get like the giant, what is it, tabla gaucho,
Yeah.
and we get that big thing for the table, and my wife's always like, "2 more chimichurri. We keep the chimichurri coming."
Yes.
So
I'm going to tell you
it's
a brief story for you to tell in your next dinner table with chimichurri on the table. You know why it's
yeah,
called chimichurri?
I don't.
Okay, so very short. In the I think it was the 30s or 20s, 1920s, 1930s. The English came to Argentina to do all the railroads. So when the English came, there were a lot of people that were eating curries.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
There
yeah,
was a
yeah.
guy with a little trolley that was selling curries around the railroads for the workers, whose name was Jimmy, and it was Jimmy's
Oh,
Curries. So
oh,
the local people from Argentina started hearing this guy selling these curries, Jimmy's Curries, and they tried to imitate the spices of the curries with the local herbs and did their own
oh,
mix called Jimmy's Curries Chimichurris.
interesting. Okay, all right, that's a great story. I'm gonna drop that the next time we're there. So
Nice.
I'm gonna hold that one in my back pocket for sure. Maybe wait till we have a group of people so I can impress everyone. Yeah, with my knowledge. Um, and so one I could just talk about food forever. It's like God, Bitcoin, food, firearms. Those are I could talk about those four things for like forever. But your catering business, I know we had talked offline a little bit, and you said you like to do the sados.
Yeah.
So why don't you fill our gringo listener? Well, you guys don't even call them gringos. That's just like a Mexican thing. We get called gringos, but by the Mexicans. That when I was growing up and working with them,
Yeah.
I was pinche gringo. I won't explain what that means in English, but uh, so why don't you tell our listeners what asados is, and then what are you doing those for the catering, the bigger stuff? Like how often are you doing those, and what are you doing those for?
Yeah, so asado, it's like the equivalent to a barbecue. It's our most traditional food in Argentina is asado, which is basically you put a big fire and then with the charcoal of the wood, you roast your meats. But we do it differently than a lot of people because usually what I see in movies, I don't know if this is true. In the US, you do it like in small pieces, like you cut the pieces very small. We do the whole
Yes.
beef, like and we
Yes.
cook it for hours, hours and hours and hours. So part of the beautiful thing about of the asado is not only eating the food, but it's the whole process of doing the asado. You gather with your friends and family, you have a wine, you can listen to music. If there's someone with a guitar, they can start playing the guitar. So it's like a very communal gathering of family and friends around food and usually drinks. Um, so a lot of our clients ask us to do like big asados for like 250 people, 300 people. And then when you have to do that, there's another traditional thing in Argentina called asado a la cruz, which is asado in a cross. So basically,
Yep.
you get the whole animal, like for example a lamb, and you put it in a like a cross thing with
Yeah, it's
wires.
a literal steel cross, basically, a metal cross.
You have
Yeah, yeah,
the whole animal there,
yeah.
and you put a big fire in the middle, and then you put the crosses around the fire, and you cook that for like 8 to 12 hours. So it's something you may start cooking like at 12 at noon or even earlier, and you eat at 11 at night or very late.
And
So
I'm getting hungry now.
yeah, last time I did that was in summer for I think it was a wedding or a birthday party. I can't remember exact celebration, but it was 250 people, and I had 9 lamps around the fire for like
Oh
12
my gosh,
hours.
that's oh man, that sounds unbelievable.
Yeah. And what
Yeah,
I do is I have a chimichurri with a brine, and you have to, we call it shower,
mopping.
like
Yeah, yeah, okay,
showering the animals
yeah.
during the whole 12 hours.
Spritzing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh man, that's a. Do you ever do a pig in the ground?
Not a whole pig, but we have here something called curanto, which is
Okay.
basically you cook under the ground
Yeah.
with hot rocks.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I didn't do a whole pig. We do it like whole chickens and a sirloin, like a big
Oh,
sirloin, and then
sure.
a lot of
Yeah.
veggies.
Yeah. Keep the moisture in there.
Exactly.
That's the key.
And you cook
Yeah.
it
Otherwise, you
with
dry out.
the raw juices.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Well, I mean, I would love one day for you to get paid in Bitcoin for an asados. That would be so cool. I'm sure it'll happen one of these days.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Gonzalo, I don't want to keep you too long here. I really appreciate your time, telling your story. I'm so glad you're on the team, and I'm excited for getting out there and interacting with other business owners like yourself. I mean, I think it's just so powerful to have the testament, and that's really what we're trying to do on this podcast. You're a perfect combination. You both work at Sovereign and run a business accepting Bitcoin, and just the power of holding better money on your balance sheet. What that just that simple part can do for your business. Forget the um, transaction part and getting more clients. There's all these other benefits too, but just at the very base level, bare bones, if nothing else, holding a better money and just how much that can benefit your business. I Getting people like your story out there is so important to hear it. And I want people to hear it over and over and over again. I want people to hear your story. And we've had Soap Miner on here and Oshi and Ketolicious and Ben Justman. Just an endless list of people doing this, bettering themselves, keeping businesses going, and being able to sleep at night, knowing that they aren't constantly going to be worried about their money debasing and how they're going to pay for things going forward. So I really appreciate you coming on here and telling your story. So why don't you tell people where they can find you personally and your restaurant as well?
Sure. I just want to add one more thing before I do that.
Oh
This
yeah,
is
please
something
do.
to anybody who's listening and maybe have doubts about getting into Bitcoin because they think it's too technical or maybe they won't get it because it's this phrase, Bitcoin is everything you don't understand about economics and computers. So I'm the living proof that anybody can understand Bitcoin. I'm not a technical guy. I don't have a background in finance, and I got it. It's just a matter of uh, uh, going back to principles, first principles, understanding value and time and effort. And if you get those
And,
three things, you will be able to get Bitcoin.
and a willingness to learn, right? A
Or
humility. That's so important. And I mean, I don't know about you. For me, it was so painful coming to a realization that, oh, I don't really know how any of this works. Maybe I should figure out how it works. And having that openness, being able to look at yourself and just understand, like, I know a lot of people show up and they're like, oh, well, you've been talking about Bitcoin for a long time and I heard you talk about it. You got in early, blah, blah. No, that was me at one point. This is a thousand, multi-thousand year monetary system. Just because getting in at any point in time will completely change your life, will completely change everything. You just have to be willing to humble yourself, admit you didn't know everything. I did it. It sucks. You got to do it though. And to your point, just getting to the first principles, understanding it. It actually, the monetary side of understanding Bitcoin is not hard at all. And interacting with the network is not hard at all. It just requires a little bit of doing and a little bit of learning and some humility, and you can get there. And those are really, to wrap this whole thing up with a cooking analogy, those are the ingredients for understanding Bitcoin and implementing it into your life and business. So,
exactly, exactly. And as you said, you have to be humble because Bitcoin is going to challenge everything you thought you know about money and even history and people and a lot of things. It's a paradigm shift, and I will have everybody to embrace it. So, with that being said, my social, I'm not really a lot on social media. I'm on Noster, and maybe later I can put my pubkey somewhere. And then I have Instagram for my restaurant. It's called La Pero BA, La Pero BA. There you
why don't you spell that? Why don't you spell that out for
L
our?
L A P E R O dot BA.
Okay,
And yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me.
awesome. Well, Gonzalo, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you. As always on these conversations, I unfortunately have to end them at some point. I could talk forever, but really appreciate your time today, and go enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, Brandon. It's been a pleasure. Bye bye.